This video is going viral, showing a synagogue in Miami applauding, cheering, praising Netanyahu as he arrives, truly just giving him a standing ovation. Everybody in the crowd is going crazy over it, and it's causing a lot of controversy on social media because it makes it very difficult for people to distinguish between anti-Zionism and a religion, which is Judaism here in this situation. And this is kind of what we're seeing, this merging. So take a listen to, just take a watch at this. Take a crazy. So, I mean, this goes on for 30 some seconds, 39 seconds, just continuous applause. So, I mean, that's kind of what's going on here is we're just seeing continuous applause and praise for this man. And when you see this and it's happening at a synagogue, keep in mind Netanyahu is a war criminal. Of course, the United States doesn't abide by the ICC, the International Criminal Court. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because he comes to these religious sites and it really blurs the line between Judaism and Zionism, and that's ultimately what the state of Israel wants. That's how the state of Israel actually benefits, because it makes it very difficult to criticize Israel when they tie the two together. So if you go on social media here, people are rightfully so speaking out. Netanyahu receives cheers at Miami synagogue amid online backlash. And Hassan Piker stated, "I've spent the last decade talking about the separation of Zionism and Judaism. And while conceptually it is true, these sorts of images make it a much stronger argument against said separation." And it goes on and it says let's see here. Some might argue that a synagogue hosting and celebrating an indicted war criminal will do more to incite anti-Semitism and embolden anti-Semites than any anti-Israel placard held by a random college student. All right. So while this is all going on, of course, you have to realize, and this is the thing, is that homes in the West Bank, settlements are fundraising at synagogues. There are fundraisers in synagogues in the United States to sell off land in the occupied West Bank, not in Israel proper, in the occupied West Bank. And they're tax-free religious sites, but they're selling settlements. They're selling off homes in the occupied Palestinian territories. If you think that's bad, and this is really where things start to blur the lines that people have a difficult time talking about, there are synagogues in Brooklyn, in New York, that are fundraising money for thermal imaging drones to be used on Palestinians in the occupied West Bank, and they're sending them over. This is not just one fundraiser here and there. It's happening repeatedly. So take a look at this tab here. New York charities send combat gear to West Bank settlements. Israeli settlers have unleashed a wave of violence on Palestinians with tax-deductible donations. New Yorkers can help equip them to carry that out. New York stands with Israel. Of course, there's a sign somebody's holding. At least 3 New York nonprofit organizations are calling on donors to help outfit those settlers with combat gear in a fundraising blitz funneling millions of tax-deductible dollars to West Bank aggression. By chipping into a thermal drone matching campaign, donors can help the Long Island-based One Israel Fund buy remote-controlled aerial vehicles for settler militias. With a contribution, they can equip settlers with accessories for their guns and tools to keep an eye on, quote, Arab thugs in occupied East Jerusalem. Okay, this is happening in the United States. They're going around fundraising money at their places of worship. Oh my gosh, imagine if it happened. Imagine if Muslims here in the United States were fundraising money to go to weapons in the Middle East. Oh my gosh, geez Louise. Imagine the sort of backlash. Imagine the backlash. Yet this happens routinely in synagogues in Brooklyn, and it's okay. We allow it. The government turns a blind eye. And again, I have to say this repeatedly, and I truly mean it. I don't direct hate and violence and bigotry towards any group of people, but there are instances here where there is illegal practices. There are things that are clearly going beyond what is normal, religious practice at these places of worship that is being used to supply and fund a foreign country's military and their settler militias and to help steal Palestinian lands. and it's legal. And it might not even be legal, but they're doing it anyways because the government won't care and won't take action. I think that it's not too much to ask to put a law in place that makes it illegal to fund and supply a foreign military, whether they're allies with the United States or not. I don't see how Americans should be funding and supporting a foreign military and sending their money over there, regardless, let alone the fact that it's in the occupied West Bank. And yet, these synagogues will do the same thing. They'll bring Netanyahu on, they'll applaud and they'll cheer him. He's working for a foreign country, by the way. This is kind of where the lines are blurred because he represents a foreign country. And then he comes here and he gets a standing ovation while he's literally committing an onslaught in Gaza. And you listen to that and you see that, and everybody's saying, well, of course, this is going to fuel anti-Semitism because he's conflating, and they're actively doing it, anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. It's hard to distinguish now because it's all being done in their places of worship. Clearly, that's going to cause a lot of problems. Clearly, that's going to cause controversy. When this happened, actually, during Zohran Mamdani, during his campaign, where there were protests taking place outside of synagogues in New York. Rightfully so, because they were happening because of the fact that that synagogue was auctioning land in the occupied West Bank. They were auctioning land that isn't theirs, and they were stealing land from Palestinians and then going to New York synagogues and auctioning it off. And when protests were taking place outside of their synagogues, it was considered hate, and it shouldn't be happening in places of worship. Well, the places of worship are stealing land from Palestinians. So your place of worship is no longer just a place of worship. You're blurring the lines tremendously. They're blurring the lines tremendously. And then we can't protest that? No, absolutely not. We're going to protest that as much as we want, and people should be protesting outside of those places because they're no longer just places of worship. They're benefiting the interests of a foreign country while they're actively stealing land. They're actively stealing land. They're benefiting a foreign military. They're benefiting settler militias. Drone matching campaign, a thermal imaging drone matching campaign. Just the fact that they can do that and they get away with it. That's the thing. They get away with it. And it's stealing your money, by the way. If it's tax deductible, it's stealing your money. They're fundraising money, which is tax deductible. All right. That means they should have paid taxes on it. Those should have been taxes that go to the American government, but it's the American government is giving it a write-off and letting them do it. And it's going to commit violence against Palestinians. And then they start to cry about there's this concern about the rise in anti-Semitism when everything that's being done in these places of worship that we're seeing in these instances where this is happening are being used to fundraise for violence. I'm sorry, ultimately, and again, I don't support hate and violence towards any group of people, absolutely not, but a place of worship now is being used for something that isn't what the government gave you a tax write-off for, all right? This is not what the government gave you a tax write-off for. This is not why you don't pay taxes, to start supporting foreign interests. That's not how it should be working here. But of course, our government is bought out by Israel, so we're going to let it slide. We're just going to let this happen. How much more do we need to really, truly just wake up? Like, is this it? Is this just going to keep happening? Is there a point where this stops? Or is this going to keep happening, and then when people speak out about it, you're going to see Donald Trump putting a new executive order forward to make it illegal to criticize Israel? Is that kind of where we're just headed, to a censorship, authoritarian state where you can criticize America as much as you want, but God forbid you question Israel? Is this it? It seems like this is kind of the trajectory. It's already happening. So is this just going to continue to get worse and worse and worse? I don't know. But it's starting to get really, it's been irritating. So that's kind of where we're at now. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And if you want to support my channel, I'd appreciate it if you click the subscribe button below as well and give it a thumbs up. Helps me reach more people like you.